We'll turn our attention now to Kenya, where President William Ruto has said violence against police will not be tolerated. He spoke during an interdenominational church service at Mwatunge ground, Taita, Taveta County. The president also warned against sabotaging the country's economy. We have more in the following report.
Ya muhimu mbali na kupanga elimu ya watoto wetu all the way to the university.
President William Ruto warned that those who were sponsoring attacks against the police, who were doing their work professionally, would be dealt with decisively. He remarked that a significant number of police officers are in the hospital nursing injuries as a result of well-organized attacks. President Ruto asked leaders to stop sponsoring the destruction of valuable public infrastructure to sabotage the country's economy. He also appealed to youth not to allow politicians to misuse them to cause violence and destroy property, while making it clear that his administration was ready to work with all leaders from across the political divide to advance the country's developmental agenda. The president said the government has invested in farmers to boost the country's food production capacity. Meanwhile, National Assembly member Raham Makumi asked Kenyans not to accept to be misused by the opposition to advance their political agenda. More than 300 people were arrested as Kenyans took to the streets to protest the high cost of living last week. Demonstrations were reported in several parts of the country, including the western counties of Kisumu, Migori, and Kisii, where the opposition enjoys huge support. The demonstrations were protesting a law that has raised the price of fuel to its highest level, as the government implements a doubling of value-added tax on petroleum products to 16%. The prices have taken effect despite a court order suspending the implementation of the controversial new taxes.
President Emeritus Corporate Council on Africa, Stephen Hayes, joins us live from Washington, D.C. to discuss the ongoing disruptions in the Eastern Africa country. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Hayes. Well, the protests have lingered in Kenya. Walk us through the issues that brought Kenya to this point and your assessment of government handling of the whole issue.
Well, the issues are several, but the most immediate ones that affect the people is that food prices have gone up considerably. And in a country where most people are poor or close to the poverty line, then that's a major problem. Gasoline prices have also been hiked, but really it's the food prices more than anything is an immediate area. But there has been a drought that has affected Kenya this past year, and that's certainly affecting food prices. And then I'm also very concerned about the implications of the Russia-Ukraine grain deal ending, because Kenya gets between 30 to 50%, and I think it's really closer to the 50% figure of their grain from Ukraine and Russia. Both countries contribute about equal amounts. When I say contribute, they sell, but anyway, in any case, that's going to have further severe implications on Kenya, as well as several other countries, and I would probably include Nigeria in that as well.
All right.
So I think to your question too, and the political leadership and how they've handled it, it's hard to not be critical, not knowing all the facts on the ground, but nevertheless, certainly President Ruto, who has blamed the previous administration, of which he was a part of, which is disingenuous, but certainly he has said that you cannot attack police, and that's certainly true, but nevertheless, it's the demonstrators who have been shot and killed. So I think they've handled it fairly poorly so far.
Indeed, the president has said the police cannot be attacked. But before now, he's been quoted as praising the police for how they are managing, how they are maintaining peace in Kenya. So do you think his word back then could have, boosted the strength, the invigoration with which the police went all out, and in the process, about 20 people already killed in the protests?
Well, I think the answer to that is yes. I think that certainly weighing very heavily on the side of the police, and it's hard for governments not to weigh on the side of law enforcement. but the police seem to have been very brutal in this case. And in fact, the International Human Rights Organization has criticized the government, which has not gone well with President Ruto. It's just a very, very difficult situation. If you're the police, you don't want rocks being thrown at you, which could kill you. On the other hand, you don't want to be shooting demonstrators because of that either.
As it stands now, what do you think opposition leaders should be doing in quelling this conflict?
I think it's particularly unique in Kenya because the opposition leader is Mr. Odinga, who's run for president no less than 5 times. I would be happier, I think, if somebody else were picking up the leadership, because it exposes the opposition to the people protesting the economy, exposes it as a possible political gamut as opposed to a really genuine concern. I think the demonstrators are more concerned with the economy than they are following the leadership of Raila Odinga, but nevertheless, it needs broad leadership. Now, what should Mr. Odinga do? They've said they were going to 3 days of demonstration. Those demonstrations have happened. I think he ought to call for talks through Parliament and looking at possible plans, because I think Kenya is going to go through some continuing severe problems. Their economy has improved in some areas. The infrastructure is going, the economy is growing at about 5%, but it's not reaching a lot of the people. And when the food prices go up 17% or higher, in fact, doubling in some cases of certain commodities, then all the statistics of the World Bank of the 5% growth mean very little if you're wondering about how you're going to eat the next day.
And one of the persons that have been killed in this protest is Douglas Kalasinga. He was 27 years old. And his relatives have come out to say that he was not even demonstrating. He was right there working, pushing a handcart of water cans. He was not part of the demonstration. The family is calling for justice. Do you see justice being done in this case?
I think it's going to be difficult to obtain. Bullets are impartial. They don't just seek out the demonstrators, but who else happens to be walking the line. And so it's not uncommon in such cases where innocent bystanders who happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time are shot. So I think that's going to be very difficult to be compensated for.
All right, then. I must sincerely appreciate you for sharing your thoughts with us at this time. President Emeritus, Corporate Council on Africa, Stephen Hayes, thank you for talking to us on The World Now.
As always, thank you. It's an honor.